Okay. All right. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Laura Katana. I'm on the marketing team at Symphonic, and I'm going to be your moderator for this masterclass session. So for those of you who don't know us, Symphonic Distribution. Oops. Hold on one second. I'm so sorry. Some technical difficulties. Okay, there we go. Oops. I know how to do this. All right, so we are Symphonic Distribution. We're a 100% independent music marketing and distribution company. We've got a global footprint spanning the US, Canada, South America, South Africa, and growing. And what we do, we offer global digital music, video, and physical distribution. We offer marketing support, and we've got a lot of pretty badass tech to support it all. So what we are going to do today, I'm going to just give you a brief little overview of what we're going to chat about, and then I will introduce our guest. We're going to be talking about music promotion today, how the industry has changed, what kinds of problems most artists are facing today, the solutions that Groover offers and how they work with artists and curators. And we're going to share some success stories as well. At the end of this, we're going to do some Q&A. Everybody, please feel comfortable to put any questions in the Q&A section. We'll be going through them. We'll be checking them at the end. This session will also be recorded. So if you want to go back and hear anything again, we'll be sharing that recording with you in a couple of days. So without further ado, let me introduce Dorian Perron. He's the founder of Groover. Groover, for those of you who don't know, Groover is a music platform that connects, that helps musicians get their music heard. Music promotions with results. They're all about results. I'm going to pass the mic now to Dorian, let you give a proper introduction of yourself and of Groover. Go for it.
Hello, everyone. I'm Dorian. I'm the founder of Groover, and I'm in charge of everything related to developing the activity related to music, to the artists and the curators on the other side. So Groover, to give a very quick overview, it's a web platform on which you can send your music to a selection of tastemakers and curators. So it can be blogs, radio stations, playlist curators. It can be also record labels, publishers, bookers. You choose who you want to get in touch with. And for small amounts of money, we guarantee you that they're going to listen to your music and give you feedback, positive or negative. The main idea behind Groover that has pushed us for the last 6 years was to guarantee that when you send your music, the people you send it to are going to listen to it and give you feedback. So breaking this wall of first listening. And so we focus on helping you get your music heard, at the same time connect with the people that can really help you get to the next level.
Amazing. That sounds like something that we need.
Yeah, and it's been 6 years. So now there are like a lot of artists using it. 400,000 artists are using the platform. Wow. Yeah, 2,500 curators on the other side answering. And we're a team of 42, and we're based between Paris and New York. If people were trying to figure out what my accent is, it's a French accent that I'm trying to hide as much as I can. So yeah, I'm based in Paris, but part of the team is also based in New York City.
Okay. Tell me, I'm always curious when learning about a new company, I'm always curious of the origin story. So can you tell me a little briefly, how did this idea come about?
Yeah, it's an interesting story. So when I met with my co-founders, Romain and Raphael, we were in California, in UC Berkeley, in an entrepreneurship program. But before that, It had been a few years that I had created a music blog that already exists, that still exists, sorry, since 2013. It's called Indeflagration. It's a very long name, and I wouldn't have chosen that today. That's why we chose Groover for the project. And it was talking mainly about indie folk, indie rock artists that I was discovering. And I already realized that I was receiving hundreds and hundreds of emails every day and every week from artists that wanted to be featured on the blog. I actually was receiving more emails from artists that we had visitors on the website. So to give an idea of how many emails we were receiving. And Romain had released music and created a small record label with his father, and he had experienced the big issues of promoting music and trying to get people to get to listen to his music. And so what we did, the origin is we wanted to help independent artists. It was a project that was a bit different in the start, but we started by talking with I think it was more than 200 artists and music professionals for 1 month straight, doing only that, asking them a lot of questions about their daily life, their issues they were encountering. And the big thing that stood out is that most artists and most independent artists, they are able to like produce, they're able to distribute, they are able to find someone to help them with their music video or their the artwork or their release. But anytime we went to discussing how do they get people to listen to it, they were like talking and talking incessantly about it being the biggest issue. How could they get the music heard by more than their family and their dog? It was like the only thing we were thinking about. So we decided to focus on that. So we spent the first like 4 months working on like a very simple solution. It was first a Google form on a WordPress website with a PayPal button. Worst experience ever, and people were still using it, paying, and on the other side the first curators were answering, and there was like good feedback about the whole thing. So we decided to stick to it, and when we got back to Paris, we really put like all our hearts in it. It was in end of 2017.
Wow, amazing, amazing, man. And you said the blog is still active today.
It is. I'm not posting as much as I used to, but I still have playlists, and I still have a few people that are writing for it. But it's very tough to keep it active.
I'm sure.
It's just very dear to my heart because I created it with my friends, and we had like so many awesome memories with it because we were shooting video sessions, organizing events, going to festivals. So it's like I'll keep it alive as much as I can. But yeah.
That's great, though. I think, in history, a lot of the greatest inventions come out of necessity. You needed a different solution. Why don't you tell us maybe a little bit, and I think you have a good slide for this. Tell us a little bit, what are some of the problems, the biggest challenges that artists are facing today in getting their music heard?
Yes, what we realized very quickly, and it was in 2018, it was that there were a lot of songs that were released every day on streaming platforms. And the figure that we heard about that wasn't official by then was 20,000 new songs every day on streaming platforms. And it was in 2018. And in 2023, the number that everyone's communicating about is 120K. So between when we started Groover and now, it's become even more crucial to try to stand out from the mass in a way, because when there's 120,000 new tracks on Spotify, and we're talking about Spotify, which means that these are artists that are going through an aggregator, a distributor, or a solution like Symphonic to distribute their music. It's not even the people that are just uploading their tracks to YouTube or SoundCloud. So it's massive. And the problem is artists are all like sending emails or DMs or messages to tastemakers and creators to try to get their music heard by people who have an audience and can communicate about their music, and they're completely overwhelmed on the other side. So the bloggers, the radio stations, the playlist creators, they receive request after requests. And so the problem was not that the music was not good enough to get on those outlets. It was that they didn't have time to click on the link and listen to it. So, and as you see here, there's an interesting stat, which is that 80% of the artists on Spotify have fewer than 50 monthly listeners.
Wow.
So it's incredible how the how many tracks are produced and released, and how hard it is to actually get it heard by a significant number of people.
That's
That's
a
why
really
music creators are key. But they're hard to reach. So I'm really reading the last sentence of the slide, but that's actually it. It's like you need some influence channels that can help you go to more people, especially because now with streaming platforms, the only model where you can grow and grow your career and grow your revenue is through getting more listens, getting more streams. Not the only one for your whole career. You can also, of course, throw shows and sell merch, and it's super important. But on the recorded music side, selling CDs is very complicated or non-existent anymore. And the only way you can actually make a living and also gain significant audiences that will then come to your shows and stuff like that is through streaming. And music creators is a big way to bring you both visibility and also the legitimacy of your music is recognized by people, external people who like it, and it will push other people to listen to your music.
Definitely. Yeah. Social proof, right?
Yeah,
Um,
exactly. Social proof, super important.
this is an insane statistic from 2018 to 2023, from 20K to
Insane, right?
120K. Wow. Let me interrupt for 1 second. I see some folks raising their hands. If you guys have any questions while we're chatting, drop them in the little Q&A box, and we'll be keeping an eye on that and answering as we go, but we'll leave some time at the end for questions. Okay, so Dorian, this sounds like a disaster. I'm very familiar with this music landscape. This sounds overwhelming. I guess hands up
It is.
if this resonates with you.
I
So
think overwhelming was one of the main words we were using all the time when we started, and we had trouble pronouncing it even. So it was like even like a an important word. So for us, but yeah, no, it is overwhelming. So yeah.
okay, so what do we do? What's the solution? Where do you guys come in?
Yeah, so we thought about a solution, which was actually how do we focus mainly on breaking the wall of first listening. So the main issue we identified is that how do we make the creators and tastemakers actually click on the link and listen to it and send a short answer to artists. So the way we found out, we tried a few things, and the thing we found was that through microtransactions, there was a positive circle happening. So by paying small amounts of money for each contact, guaranteeing that you get listened to and you get an answer, otherwise you would get credits back. So you're really guaranteeing you the listening and the answer from these creators was key. So we use that model, and it's always been the same. Is that you pay small amounts of money by contact. It's actually €2, so approximately $2 by contact. Except for now, a 10% of them who cost a bit more because they're more influential, and we call them the top curators. But the curators cost basically $2 to get in touch with. And we guarantee you that within a week, they will listen to your track and give you feedback, or you get credits back. And on the other side, the creators, the tastemakers, they are paid for listening and giving feedback, but whatever their decision is. So they keep their entire editorial independence, because they can refuse to share your track. They can just answer, but they can also decide to share your track. And we have simplified the flow so they can do so. And what's happening that's very positive is that because artists are paying by contact, they're more careful about who they reach out to. So the creators on their end, they receive tracks that are much more targeted. And we're helping that with a filtering system and a recommendation and matching algorithms so that it's even more targeted. And so the creators, the tastemakers, they receive tracks that actually end up liking and they end up sharing. So what we see in terms of results is that we've had more than 4 million pieces of feedback that were given from creators to artists. And out of those, and it was corresponding to an around 90% answer rate, meaning that when you send your track to, like, I don't know, 40 creators, you'll get 36 answers on average, and the rest you'll get credits back for them, and you can send more submissions. And out of those, we have around a 25% acceptance rate, meaning that in 25% of cases on average, the curators decide to share the track. So
Wow.
it's actually it's a goal, of course, here is that you will get your music considered and possibly shared by some of them. So it will bring you visibility and new connections. So that's definitely like, if we define what the goals can be for artists on Groover, it's first gaining visibility. So the possibility to be considered and being shared. The second is, in some occasions, you can connect with labels, with publishers, with bookers, with managers. And we had more than 1,000, I think it's 1.5K now, signatures with record labels, bookers, publishers, managers that happened. And the third thing that artists can get, of course, is feedback on their music. It can be detailed, it can be technical, it can be non-technical, but artists will get feedback out of this. So you see here a bit how it works, and the value proposition for artists on the one side and for curators on the other side. And it's a very positive circle that way.
Wow. Okay. That's amazing. I'm curious also, it occurs to me, I think people are not seeing the presentation, so I'm so sorry. I'm not sure what I messed up
I
there.
think we were seeing it, but not complete. Now we're seeing it complete. So
Okay.
it's mostly,
Okay.
as you can see, all of you, the artists on one side what they get, and the creators on the other side what they get, which is receiving songs, providing feedback, and discovering great tracks. And they receive part of the cost,
Okay.
which is good because they can use it to keep their like blog going on, keep their activity going on. And in some occasions for labels, for example, they use those credits to promote their own artists. So there's something
Oh,
very positive.
nice.
Yeah.
So, and tell me a little bit, what kind of feedback do artists typically receive through Groover?
It depends. It depends. So we have guidelines, very strict guidelines sent to the creators and tastemakers, but at the same time, the format is free. So we don't get to something too standardized. So we
Okay.
ask them to not write copy pasted feedback. Some of them do, and we warn artists about that. So we try to really manage expectations there. But
Uh-huh.
the idea is we ask curators to explain why they won't share when they don't share, or why they don't want to go forward.
Okay.
It can sometimes be just because it's not the editorial line they're defending or the style they're defending. Sometimes it might be because the track, they will comment on a specific aspect of the track that they liked or didn't like. What is very important to have in mind is that feedback is subjective. It's not objective. It's like the opinion of a creator or a tastemaker. So don't expect it to be absolutely um, uh, always accurate. You can
Okay.
decide whether you want to consider it or not. Especially because from one person to another, you can find that a track is well mixed or not well mixed. It can be very subjective. One thing that we get sometimes is that some curators can criticize a bit like the mix or like the production itself. And one of the big thing we get from artists is like, yeah, but I worked with a Grammy nominee producer, or I work in this amazing studio and everything. And yeah, it's great that you did, but it doesn't mean that the production of the track is absolutely good. It depends on how people will evaluate it.
Right.
So it's an important thing. So on the feedback, I think what you can expect is to have most of the time a clear reason why it's not shared, or praise about the track because they loved it and they want to share it, which happens a lot of time. And you can also expect to have different kinds of opinions. So it depends whether you want to consider it or not. And sometimes when there's some things that you don't agree with, I would recommend not sticking too much to it. Put it on the side and focus on the things that you think are important. Feedback is part of the value that is provided on Groover, but the biggest thing that is provided is just the guarantee that they have listened to. So the access to them is the first thing before the feedback itself.
That's amazing. We actually have a really interesting question in the Q&A that I'm gonna, I think, bring up, feels relevant now. It's from Brinder Singh, who's one of those 80% of artists on Spotify with less than 50 monthly listeners. Anyways, he asked, his songs are not in English. In his case, they're in Hindi, Urdu. I know that we have a lot of users, that speak Spanish, Portuguese. So how does Groover accommodate, or does it, for non-English content?
you can put your language. When you start your campaign, you can input the language of your track. You can also say that that it's instrumental if it is. And so we take that into account to showcase the list of curators you can choose from. And we
Yeah.
put a big warning in red when they don't accept the language that your music is in. And we push them at the bottom of the list. So there's honestly, like, if you input your language, we will try to showcase only the creators that accept your language. Some of them accept all languages, but some of them accept specific languages. And you can also, in the filters, you can focus by country as well. So, for example, you can really focus on creators that are located in India or in Brazil. To give you an idea, we have big communities of creators. Quite global community. We have big communities in the US, in France, in Brazil, in all of Latin America, including Mexico, in Italy, in Belgium, Canada, Australia, Germany. So you'll probably find curators that could be interesting for you. We really try to go all across the board of all the music genres as well. So even if your music is quite niche, you should be able to find at least a few curators that can really like your track.
Yeah, amazing. I guess here's another, what is the genre split per acceptance from playlisters? So does EDM get more
Oh,
playlisting than folk?
I see. Oh, it's interesting. There's not a very big difference in terms of acceptance rate. What I can say is that they are dominant genres in terms of the number of curators that are available on the platform, because they choose what kind of genres they want to listen to. Pop is dominant, like pop, including like like indie, rock, folk would be dominant, but pop is particularly dominant. We have a lot of hip hop as well, and we have a lot of electronic music, and electronic music is especially growing right now. But at the same time, we also have a lot of artists that are submitting classical music, ambient music, jazz, reggae, metal music. And you can really get in touch with these clusters of creators with your music. And we see great results from rock artists or metal artists, for example. But there's no like big difference in terms of acceptance rate. It's interesting.
Can you, that I guess is honestly not surprising, right? Pop and hip hop, those are
And electronic, yeah, it's like
electronic, right?
yeah,
Those are always going to
of
be at the
course.
top. Tell us though, this is another interesting question. This is David Tauber. Who are the curators? Are they, what countries are they mostly in? What kind of people are they? His question ultimately is, should I
Yeah,
want a playlist curator?
yeah, it's a really good question. So I'd say we have three big categories of curators. The first one is all the curators that can bring visibility. So there will be playlist curators, but there will also be blogs, radio stations that can be FM or online. There can be also journalists, YouTube channels. We are going to create in June a DJ category. So it's an exclusive for this workshop. I wasn't supposed to say it, but we're going to create a DJ category on that side as well. So these are people who can bring visibility. The second big category are people that artists are going to be able to collaborate with. So it could be record labels, bookers, publishers, managers. There's also a third category, which is more related to people who can bring detailed feedback on their career or their production. So it will be mostly mentors. There's also some sound specialists. There are some studio engineers in that category. So you can really, depending on what you're looking for, you can go with one of these three like big categories. And regarding countries, the top countries are the US and France in terms of the number of curators. And then there's the UK, Italy, Brazil, Germany, Mexico, and the rest of Latin America, really spread between Argentina, Chile, and other countries. Canada is also, we have also like quite a great community in Canada. You see, it's very spread out, honestly, around the world. We would like to be more present in Asia, which we are not too much right now. But if you have ideas of people we should reach out to, like, don't hesitate to let us know.
Okay. Do you hear that, everybody? Okay, amazing. How about I'm curious, what are some, can you share? I'm assuming there's a lot of artists in this masterclass. What are some specific strategies that have worked well for artists? How can somebody trying it for the first time approach it?
Yeah, it's also a good question. Indeed, I think a lot of the questions we get and a lot of the things that can be like really questions that artists ask when using Groover are mostly related to two things, which is the timing, like when should they send their campaign, and the budget. So how much should they spend on their campaign? Regarding the first thing and the strategies regarding the timing to send, it depends on who you reach out to. If you really want to aim at playlist creators and Spotify playlist creators, I would definitely advise you to wait until release date and after the release date so that the creators will have access to your Spotify link directly. It's super important because if the track is not released yet, it might be a reason for them to refuse your track because they don't want to go back to it to share it. So it could
Ah,
sometimes it's a good thing. It's an important thing to take into account is that if your big target, your big aim is to send your music to Spotify playlist creators, I would wait until release day and after. If you want to get in touch with media outlets like magazines, blogs, or radio stations, you can definitely send your music before release date, and especially mentioning the release date and that the release date is in the future. It can be a way to secure some features or some broadcasts. Same thing, of course, for record labels or publishers. You can definitely send demos or tracks that are not finished yet. So this is more about the timing. One thing that is important to notice is that I would say it's never too late to send a track on Groover. You can definitely send a track, even if it's been released for 3 months. If you want to push the visibility again, lots of the playlist creators won't care when it was released if they like it, if they like the sound.
uh-huh.
This is about timing and about budget. What we've seen, so we've run some studies about like what's the ideal budget and everything. One thing we've noticed, and it's good for everyone, is that the more artists contact people, the happier they are. There's a logical reason for that, which is that if you get in touch with only 5 curators, which is the minimum on the platform, if one doesn't answer, two say it's not exactly their editorial line or what they would like to listen to, one sends a good piece of feedback and one shares, you would be, is it really a good investment?
Yeah,
Honestly,
I'd say so.
spend $10 on that. Okay, now consider you sending your tracks to like 30 or 40 contacts and costs you between 60, 70, $80. Now you're gonna get between 30 and 40 replies or pieces of feedback that are going to be, some are going to be just replies, a piece of feedback. Some are going to be shares. You might get a 25% acceptance rate on that. So it can be 6, 7, 8 features. You'd probably get good information, people you can get in touch with after that. What we're seeing is there's something really happening after like 30 and even 50 contacts on the platform. Really, like we're seeing the satisfaction rate is really, really, really high as soon as artists get in touch with at least 50 contacts. At least 30 would be a good minimum in case you have budget and you want to really achieve something on Groover.
Which is a
Spending
very
only 10
small
bucks.
budget. That's a small budget
That's
to,
still a small budget, but we still see some artists like that just want to spend like 10 bucks and
yeah,
then a lot of them can be disappointed after that, and it makes sense. We
sure.
try to like increase the minimum pricing on the platform, but at the same time, we don't want to exclude artists from trying to use it and trying their way. And sometimes they really want to get in touch with just a few, like a handful curators. So it still makes sense to give you the freedom on that and not impose like a very high minimum pricing. But at the same time, I really recommend considering contacting at least 50 curators.
At least 50, which if you consider what a PR campaign, for example, could cost, this really feels like a great option to get guaranteed.
It's really not expensive compared to a PR campaign. And if you've targeted well and your music is great and you reach out to 50 people, you might get really great results that could be that wouldn't be a shame compared to what you would get with a PR mission that might
Right.
cost 30 times this.
Exactly. Absolutely.
So yeah.
Let me ask, there's one little question here in the chat. You mentioned sending a Spotify link on the day of release, but who's asking here? Safa is asking, is a YouTube link okay to send, or SoundCloud? Any advice there?
Yeah, you actually need at least YouTube or SoundCloud because they are the only open embeddable players out there. So you will need a YouTube or SoundCloud link. And you can add a Spotify link, and we recommend you adding a Spotify link. And if you have a YouTube link, we have a magic button on which you can click, and we can find the other links for you. It works quite well. But yeah, we definitely, like, if you have a music video, for example, we definitely recommend you add it to your campaign. It can really work in your favor and show your visual universe to the creators and tastemakers. So definitely, yeah, YouTube or SoundCloud. You can send private links. So if your track is not released yet, or if you prefer not to have your track publicly on SoundCloud, you can definitely send a private shareable link and not only a public link, but you can also send a public link. I'm just going to move because I'm going to get something to glass of water. But
yes, water is important. Hydrate, everybody. I know we have so many questions, and these are all really great questions. We're going to get to, I hope, all of them. Maybe we can just chat. I want to ask you a little bit just about Groover kind of as a community. And I hear you guys do some events, you do in real life meetups. Tell us a little bit about that. What can Groover users expect from anything in real life?
Yes, so it's super important is that Groover is very global now, but we've always tried to grow building local communities. So in the beginning, it was really around like Paris. So we threw out some meetups. At first, it was in my place. Then there were too many people. When there were 80 people there, and everyone was going in the courtyard and everything, we said, okay, we should find a different place than my place. And we've always like organized these kind of meetups in different cities. And we ended up like organizing more and more shows as well. We call them usually showcases. We have a series of events in Paris called Groover Discover. We're starting a new series in New York now, and we also partnering up with other partners such as like Breaking Sound or So Far, or this kind of communities that also organize events. And what we do usually is we organize free call for applicants on Groover, so you can apply to play at some of our events for free. We listen to all the tracks and we make selections. It could be internally, or sometimes we do it in partnership with festivals. So we've also had like artists play at South by, for example, during one of our events. So we do that a lot. And it's because we really want to bring as many opportunities as we can to artists. And usually when we produce these kind of events, we also do some like meetups and like free drinks things around it. We trying to do it in Paris, in New York, in London, and in other places. And we're trying to grow that. At the same time, one thing that has been super important for us is to try to give as much advice as we can to artists to help them with their career. Sometimes we absolutely don't know the answer. So sometimes it's usually when we don't know it that we go and look for it and try to give you some lights about a specific topic. So we have a blog that has a lot of content around promotion, but also around production and how you can. There's also articles about how you can distribute your music. It's very large in terms of like how we can help you in your career and with your project. It's in 6 or 7 languages now. So French, English, Portuguese, Spanish, Italian,
I'm sharing
Dutch.
a link in here for everybody in the chat.
Yes, and I know that Symphonic has an awesome blog as well. So we really share that in our DNA of like trying to give advice and tips to artists to help them on many different stuff on top of what we're doing, like what we're doing on promotion on our end, and mostly like a distribution and also promotion on your end, but also like giving advice around like other topics. And what more can I say? Yeah, the events we do have always been a really strong thing in the team for us to meet with as well. Yeah.
I have a question. You mentioned that artists can apply to play at some of these events. How would they find out about that?
We usually push them at the very top of the list of curators. So we of course will push only the opportunities you can apply to, because depending on the country you're based in or the style of music you're doing. But if there are some opportunities that are active right now and you can apply to, they will be available directly on Groover. There might be some. I think we always have between 3 and 4 calls for applicants at the same time. So you'll see them at the top of your screen and also on your homepage. So if you go to home, you'll see all the opportunities there that you can apply to for free.
And it's a web-based, right? There's no app. I think somebody asked
you can definitely use Groover on your mobile, but it's not an app. Like, you can log in on Groover and you can use it. It's not always very easy to do your whole campaign on it, and it would require for us to do a whole different experience, knowing that you need to get in touch with, as I was saying, like many creators, sometimes like 50. So it's really not easy to do on your phone, but some do it and it works. And on the curator side, they can of course listen to the tracks on their mobile as well.
Okay, very cool. I want to get to all of our questions, but we promised at least one success story. Would you like to share? Is there anything you can share with all these artists here to get them to get it?
Yeah. So one important thing is that success is a very complicated word, because like even people who are starting to be successful, they don't feel they are successful enough and they want to get more success. It's something that is very relative. But we've seen growth. That's what I like about it is most artists that are using Groover and getting results, we witnessing growth for them. One story that sticks a bit is it's an artist called Whitworth. And he does really cool indie folk, kind of indie rock music. And he has been using Groover for a while, sending campaigns, and he got featured in by awesome curators like Alex Rainbird or Burb.fm, a lot of very cool indie folk playlists. He ended up applying to play at our South by Southwest event. We had him play there. It was at the White Horse. There were so many people. A lot of people loved what he was doing. So he got some great connections there. And it was his first, one of his first like festivals he was playing at. And we're seeing like his curve of like monthly listeners steadily growing. The opportunities is getting growing. And at the same time, he's consistent with releasing and promoting his work on the platform. So it's really like an example, but it's just like one picked among like so many stories. I think like in France, we had like one rapper in particular that won one of our contests on the platform and was featured by a lot of the big like YouTube influencer that we have on French rap there. And he ended up like really blowing up entirely, doing a Netflix show that we had in France with like a battle of rappers. And now he's doing not stadiums, but close like 6,000 people venues sold out all around France. And it's crazy to see this kind of like success happen to someone that we really pushed in the beginning. But yeah, no, so many stories. You can go on the blog. We have a stories section. You can look at some of them. It's really cool.
One thing that I always say, working in music marketing, you could have the best song in the world, but if nobody hears it, doesn't matter.
Yeah, totally.
It still matters. That's why this is so cool, because it's really helping you get that music heard, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it's interesting because like I see like what Tony is putting in the comments about like Whitworth has like around 6,000 monthly listeners. It's not that many, but at the same time, like he's not actively releasing now. It's actually releasing, I think, a new album or EP on Friday or next week, but he hasn't released in a few months. This is why also the monthly listeners curve can really be hectic. Sure. But at the same time, he's getting more and more opportunities to play live. He's touring and everything. Well, sometimes you see some artists who will have, I don't know, 200,000 monthly listeners and are not able to get a gig because they haven't toured or they're not like positioned the way that they can actually get success on that part of the music career you can have as an artist. So there are so many ways to succeed. There are, like, when you look at DJ or very famous DJs or producers, sometimes they have like some of the most famous DJs, when you go on Spotify, they have less than 1,000 monthly listeners because they have actually produced 2 or 3 tracks. They're actually doing the best clubs. Everybody knows them and loves how they're creating music, but at the same time, they're not a success on the platforms, but they're earning much more money than everyone there because
Yes.
they book 1,000 in clubs. So it's really interesting to see how like success can be very different from an artist to another. So one piece of advice I could give is like, I don't know how you're going to succeed, but you can find your own way and your own path, and depending on what you want to do and you like to do.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. That's great. Also, Tony Lemon, I hope that answered your question. With the last one there. Okay,
Yeah.
Dorian, that was so much information. We have so many really great questions. Where should we start?
I don't know.
Okay.
Do you want to shoot questions?
Yeah, I'll shoot them. This was actually one of the first questions, and this is pretty spicy. So
Okay.
we could talk about this one for another hour, but you could keep this brief. But Andromeda wants to know, why is streaming still such an important metric in today's industry when Spotify pays less than a penny per stream?
That's a very interesting, tough, and twisted topic. So I'd say, like, in the music industry, people who can invest on your project or who can push you or who will give you opportunity, they are going to try also to de-risk giving you that opportunity. So to be very pragmatic, if or a show organizer, a gig organizer, or a club is going to book you, if someone is going to sign you, it's because they think you have a lot of potential. They like your music, but at the same time, they expect at least to recoup kind of their investment on this. So they will look at indicators that tell them that thanks to like investing on you and pushing you, they will get some outcome out of it. So for a music venue, they book some artists because they think they will bring a certain number of a certain audience. For like a label, they will look at your numbers saying, okay, this means that you already have an audience, you already have listeners, you already have people that follow you. So now if we put more money on you, if we put more energy on you, we will increase that. So it's so competitive now. It doesn't mean that artists hate each other. It's very competitive by essence because there are so many artists that they will look at indicators that show that you stand out. So streams is one of the indicators, not always the only one, but it's one of the indicators. It doesn't mean streams in essence. It doesn't mean like if you go to millions of streams, so they are all like artificial streams. They're not. They don't make any sense. Many people will see it. So it's not about like only about the absolute numbers. It's about how can you grow an actual number of streams that are coming from people that came or are listening to your music because they like it, engaging with it. So streams is important, but engagement metrics are also important. And streams are sometimes a good measure of engagement as well. That's why people are looking at it. The same way people were looking at YouTube views or Facebook followers, the same reason people are looking at Instagram followers today. It's more about like it's indicators that you already have an audience. And so it's the reason why it's so important is that if you're able to show this, you will unlock more opportunity because you will remove the doubt from the people that like your music and want to offer you some opportunities. It may be not the only reason, but for me, it's a more important reason than just the revenue that derives from it. It's true that like getting paid from streaming is it can happen if you really a success and you're doing millions of streams and everything. You can gain a sustainable source of revenue from this, and it's great and it's super important, but it shouldn't be the only reason why you would like to grow your streams and your audience. It should be also to say, this is an indicator that my project is serious, so it will help me unlock more opportunities. Some people are booked on festivals because they have a lot of streams. They're generating a lot of streams. Mm-hmm. So if you look at this saying, okay, maybe they paid some promotion or they paid some ads or they invested a lot of money to get to 100,000 or 200,000 monthly listeners. But then it unlocks that they play an opening on a main stage, or they play many festivals during, and they paid quite a good amount of money.
Yeah.
Also, and this contributed to it. You can see like the externality of the revenue you got from it.
Amazing. Yes. Okay. You're welcome, Andromeda. That was
Sorry, it was a bit of a long answer. But
no. Great answer to a very complicated question. Okay, I'm seeing a lot of questions about genres and being able to break down. It looks like a lot of people, in particular, with like Latin music.
Okay.
Any plans to kind of break that down into subgenres? Because obviously Latin music can be many, many different things.
Yeah, it's very large. So we already have a few different ones. We intend to like split them even more. Usually we try to get a better understanding of like what's like what are the different genres we should need, and not always like split them too much, because if it's to have like very subcategories with like only 3 or 5 curators in them, it won't serve anyone. But right now we have Latin music. We distinguish Brazilian music. We distinguish reggaeton and dancehall. I think we have bossa nova as well. We have a few different ones that are like to split that. I think we're not doing enough, and we need to create new ones in that new categories for around Latin music. If you have suggestions, if you go on Groover and you look in the world category, in the pop category, in the soul and R&B category, and you see that some are really missing or some that we should split, honestly, feel free to tell us on the chat. We're really taking that into account to rebuild the categories. I know 6 months ago, we entirely like changed the split of the electronic music subgenres, because we were really, I think it was really outdated, honestly. And now we mapped better like beatport, but also other genres that are not like DJ related. And I think we're doing a good job now on the electronic music thing, but we'd love to get better at on the Latin music thing.
Natalis, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, has a great suggestion. Tropical is kind of the overarching genre for salsa, merengue, bachata, everything in there.
Yeah, we definitely should. Yeah. If you have remarks about what we currently have, like, don't hesitate to. Yeah.
Okay. Well, you should talk to Natalie. She's got some
she seems
great ideas.
Know about it. Yeah.
What about, here's a quick question. This is for, well, somebody anonymous, but New Orleans inspired brass band. Does that have a little niche, a little home on Groover?
I think so.
Would you put that under jazz?
Yes, I guess I would put that under jazz. And what I would recommend is that we have some creators in jazz, but we don't have too much. So I would take jazz and I would go through the list of the creators we have. It's probably around 100 or 200 max. And look, which ones do you think are going to appreciate your music? But I wouldn't go too much beyond jazz. So it's one important thing. You told me about like some advice when using Groover. One good piece of advice I would give is not select too many subgenres. Try to stick to 1, 2, or 3 maximum, because if you put too many, the recommendations are going to be really like all over the place. While if you really focus on 1, 2, or 3, you might really get at the top the best ones for your music and what you're looking for. And I had like some artists that were doing like some psychedelic pop, and they told me, yeah, we have someone rapping for 15 seconds in that. I was like, yeah, but like people who want to receive rap music, they don't want to receive a psychedelic pop track with 15 seconds of rap in it. So you shouldn't even put rap as a genre, because the majority of your track is more psychedelic pop. So I would focus on like not saying what you think your music is, but like if you make your music, like if you have someone listen to your music, what would they say it is? You can test it out with friends, with other people, and try to say, okay, it's not putting myself into a box or anything, because I know artists don't want to put themselves into boxes of genres and everything. It's more about what would a creator think it is, so that I'm sure I'm choosing the right ones. It's more about that. But yeah, there is space for jazz music. There's space for, I said, extreme metal music, as there are some creators that are creating that on Groover. Yeah, I think you can definitely find some creators that would like your music.
I guess that maybe also would go, I see Pepe has a question about neoclassical contemporary music. So same kind of under the umbrella of classical instrumental, and then do your research through the curators.
Exactly. So yeah, we have this kind of like umbrella of classical instrumental. We have neoclassical, ambient. We have solo piano. If it's just we have really divided that category, and we
Okay.
have a lot of interesting creators, especially playlist creators in those categories. So there's a lot of yeah, there are a lot of playlists on Spotify that have a lot of followers that are around like solo piano, ambient, neoclassical.
So Joe Bermudez has a good question. Is there a minimum amount of time that the curators need to listen to your track? So let's say you got a 3-minute song. How much time are they actually spending listening to it?
Um, So it's 30 seconds, but we're seeing that they spend much more time actually listening to the tracks. They sometimes listen to them multiple times. One thing that can be troubling, and I totally understand you, is that sometimes you don't see like plays increasing on your YouTube player. It's normal. It's because like with autoplay on external websites, YouTube doesn't count views. But we checking it and they are listening for at least 30 seconds and usually more on to the music. What's important to know is, yeah, they write feedback. They need to write feedback about it, and sometimes they won't listen to much more because they know it's not definitely not the music, the kind of
Right.
music they want to listen to. But yeah, sometimes they would love it and listen to it in a row and save it. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Um, this is a good one. How, from David Halber again, how do we know that the playlists that people are pitching to are not bots?
That's a big topic. So we've been addressing this for a long time. We have a lot of tools that we've built both through external sources. So we use some other services through the API to evaluate the playlist. And we also have an internal way to check through the Spotify API and also data from other artists, how the playlists are performing and are they performing in a good way. So we're using a variety of external and internal sources. And all the time when we have a playlist that applies on Groover, there's a vetting period where we check how a specific track is performing in that playlist before deciding whether we accept them. And then we monitor that activity. We keep on expanding this. We're getting better, better, and better. We've never had a situation where a track was really added to a fully like artificial playlist in the kind of with really artificial streams. But we're still very careful about that. And we vet all the place curators on the platform on this. So actually using Groover is a way for you to be sure that the players you're reaching out to are legit.
That's super important. And I hope everybody heard that because Spotify and the other streaming platforms are really starting to crack down. And, I think what we see in a lot of cases, I'm sure artists don't even realize that their songs in some cases are on playlists that are all bots. And it's devastating to have your music taken down.
Totally. And sometimes what it's not even your fault. It's like sometimes there are like some voted playlists or companies like there's one called waiver.ai and other like subsequent other fake channels they created, and they add your track for one day, so you have a big spike of streams because they expect you to reach out to them to say, oh well, how did I get that, and then they ask you to pay to keep you in that playlist. But those are only artificial streams, so it can get your track kicked out. We've seen this
You've
happen
seen also.
yeah, because what happens is that sometimes if you have a track, and sometimes it happens to tracks that have been released for a long time. So the tracks that have been released for a year or something like this, and then you see that, like, for example, you have 50 or 100 daily streams, which is okay, but it's very steady. And then you have a spike of like 5,000 streams on one day. So then when you go to the end of the day, it represents, to the end of the month, it represents a lot of your streams that are artificial. It's not your fault. It's because your track has been added to this artificial playlist. And so it gets flagged. And it's totally unfair. But at least what I can say is that the advice I would say is never pay for a service that guarantees you streams. Or same thing, the worst thing you can see on a website is like, we guarantee you organic listeners. Please, free. This is not possible. That we not guarantee you organic listeners. this is not true. They doing fake things in all the places. They're not checking anything, and they can get your music fucked in the algorithms for a long time. Sorry for the, but yeah, no, it can happen.
Yeah.
So so really be careful about that. Never use a Fiverr package. The things that are on Fiverr, they're like for $5 you'll get 20,000 streams. Never
Yeah.
do it.
No.
Anytime you see guaranteed streams, don't do it. Services that you can use are the ones that tell you we don't guarantee streams, okay? Or the ones that tell you like we guarantee that people are going to listen, but you need to make sure that the people who are listening are still free and not incentivized to share.
Aha.
So that
Okay,
way,
so
yeah.
go ahead, that way.
Yeah, so that's the situation we're in. It's like more payment for consideration of the track, not
Mhm.
payment for placement, which is more complicated. Yeah.
Yeah, no, and that is a huge, subtle but huge difference. Tell me, I've seen quite a few questions. What sets Groover apart from some of the other competitors? For example, Submit Hub, I think is the big one.
Definitely. I think like the big ones are like I would say like if I say Submit Hub, Playlist Push, are two of the biggest ones. So with Submit Hub, the biggest difference relies in, I would say, the diversity and of our community of creators and pros. So I would say the overlap is probably around like 10% max, which means that 90% of the creators you find on Groover are not on Summit Hub. The reason for that is multiple, is because we really build our community globally with ambassadors. We have Pietro in Italy, we have Luis in Mexico and Spain, we have David in the UK, we have SETI in Germany. So they're all helping us like build a real community of creators on the ground, which really sets us apart. The other thing is the array of categories that you can reach out to. We not only focus on playlist creators.
Right.
It's not been a big focus of us before the last year. And we always been focusing on increasing the number of radio stations, blogs, labels, publishers, managers, bookers, journalists, YouTube channels. Now we're creating a new DJ category. So the big difference is that is like I feel like on Summit Hub now the focus is a lot on playlist creators. Playlist Push is only about playlists.
Right.
So the thing is, if you're willing to like expand the people you want to reach out to, Groover can really be different. And about the fact that what I was saying about the different markets we are present in. For example, we have big communities in Brazil, in France, in Italy, which it's not the case on Summit Hub. So really, if you look at the different markets there could be some interesting contacts for you on Groover that are not on Summit Hub. But at the same time, if you have some budget and if you're doing some styles that you think they are good pools on both platforms, I would definitely recommend trying both.
That's amazing. One bit of advice that I hope this sticks with everybody. Playlisting alone is not a marketing strategy. So that is so cool that you can really diversify your marketing efforts amongst blogs, playlists, radio stations. That's pretty powerful.
Yeah, totally. That's really like an important part of what we're trying to do is like helping artists like grow on that. That's why also we providing live opportunities, why we really growing the community of like record labels, bookers, and publishers and managers you can reach out to. It's a big part of like what we're trying to do is like provide you with more services, more help on more things than just playlisting, always around the same vision, which is helping get your music heard, like helping you get your music heard. So everything is around that, around promotion, marketing, and connection with other professionals. Yeah, you're totally right. It's not sufficient in itself to do playlisting. And the other thing is, even Groover is not sufficient at all. You need to like if you want to be a very present on social media. There's lots of ways you can grow organically on social media. You can also run ads. You can follow people like Andrew Southworth, who's like one of the experts on like how to run ads for your music. There's so many other things you can do to push your music. And we feel it's important to like provide more opportunities and more different types of opportunities. And the last difference I would say is that Summit Hub was created by a blogger, and in the beginning it was really like focused on like how can they help curators. So they're really creative focus.
Mm.
in their experience and how they built it. On our end, it was only about artists. Like, how can we help artists? Like, curators are great and we love them, but we didn't build a platform for them. We built a platform for artists and to provide them with opportunities. So that shows a bit everywhere in our experience and what we're building around Groover. And we hope we'll be able to like keep on improving and innovating with new things to help showcase artists.
I love that. Love an artist-centric company. We can consider ourselves as well. Okay, I want to be conscious of everybody's time. We've already reached our hour. I want to squeeze just one little question that I've seen a couple of times on there. I've seen a few people asking about Afro beats.
Yes.
Huge genre. Where would that go under pop, or how would you do that?
That's a very good question because so I love Afro beats and Afro pop, and I've been following that scene a lot. I must admit that I'm listening to more Afro related or Afro pop, Afro beats music than Latin music right now. But it's my personal bias. I'm also like a huge fan of like Afro house, like all the it's different, but it's interesting.
Nice.
So we created a category, Afrobeat, Afropop. I believe it's under pop now, or maybe I'm under soul slash R&B, which is like the big umbrella there. I would recommend you look. I'm not sure where we put it because it was a big hesitation. At first, I wanted to put it in different big umbrellas, but it's not possible technically because of the way we did it and the way we built it. So it's under one of the umbrellas. I think it's under pop or maybe under soul and R&B. And you can really focus on that category, which is Afropop, Afrobeat, and look at the artist in there. I really think it's how you can focus on the right ones for you.
Okay, perfect. I hope that answered everybody's question. Dorian, there's still actually quite a few questions in here that we haven't gotten to. Where can people maybe send a DM to on Instagram if they have additional questions? Where can you direct them?
Yeah, so I will provide you with I have a personal Instagram that I will send you here. Don't hesitate to follow me and ask me any questions you might have. Another way, if it's especially about like using the platform itself, we have a chat icon on the website and we're pretty responsive. We have a good support team, very active. So if you have questions, we'll probably answer you. Like we always answer the same day, like sometimes instantly, sometimes it takes a few hours. But if you have questions, we'll be there to help you. And Emma, William, and Nais on the support are super friendly and super cool. It's all internalized, so the support is internalized in Groover. We know everyone who's using it. Yeah, thank you, Natalie. Yeah, I was still doing the support on the weekends, like 2 or 3 months ago for the past 6 years. I just stopped. But I'm still like receiving emails on my personal inbox, so I'm still answering the people that are sending emails to me. But the team is amazing, so don't hesitate to reach out to them on the chat on the website, and don't hesitate to, if you have specific questions, don't hesitate to follow me on Instagram. I've just started DJing a year ago. I love it, so. I don't know if you want to listen to my set, you can. No, I mean like no obligation at all. But it's like I'm having a lot of fun. I'm having a lot of fun. No ambition whatsoever. But it's actually good because it's connecting me with more people in the industry, more artists, and I love it.
Amazing. Yeah. Oh, I love that. I love that. Well, that's super kind of you to share your Instagram. If anybody has any questions for us Symphonic, you can hit us up on any of our social media. We also are human beings that respond. I think then we'll call this here for everybody who's still in here. This will be made available on Symphonic's YouTube channel. Everybody's going to get an email with the recording. Dorian, thank you so much. This was enlightening.
Yeah, and there was one thing I wanted to say as well is because I'm seeing what Natalie is saying about the Symphonic, and it's true. I've always had amazing feedback about Symphonic, about the service, about the team. I've got the chance to meet with you and some other people in the team, and always like great encounters, great human beings. And we have a very, I think, shared DNA in trying to really help artists and giving them advice and managing expectations in the sense that we're learning at the same time. And I love this. And honestly, you're in good hands with Symphonic for distribution.
We so appreciate that. We didn't ask him to say that.
No, I know, I know, I know.
Awesome to see you in the chat. No, no,
I'll
no.
probably ask for more money after. No, that's not true. There's no like just so you know, there's no like it's a partnership because really we appreciate each other's services. There's no like money involved or things like that on the on why we talking
No,
about each other.
of course not.
So yeah.
But
So
yeah,
no, that's really great. No, I'm really like the service that Symphonic brings, and I'm really happy that you invited me to do that workshop.
thank you so much. Thank you for your time, all of your knowledge. And I guess everybody find us online if you have more questions. And Dorian, we will or be sticking around to see what comes next.
Perfect. Thank you very much. And
Have a
yeah,
good
don't
time.
hesitate if you have questions, and have a good time. See you soon.
Thank
Bye.
you.